So that was painting the sky part of, I think it was disc 3 from this, but I think this was from disc 2, the drawing of the Statue of Liberty, and he shows how to measure just with whatever, right, your pen tip or something. And so that's what that is. And that's James's deck dinner. It's Turkish honeyed walnuts and plum, pear, and strawberry on almond oat waffles. I'm going to talk about the Informer and Criminal Audition. And neither one of these are really worth watching as far as I'm concerned. But I guess I'll
do them justice.
I'll review them all the same. So I'll say this is top of the stack today. But with the, like, he in his video, I'll say he shows how to stretch your watercolor paper not using tape like I do, masking tape. He has this sticky brown paper that's like, it's not really tape, but it's like when you wet it, then he says if you wet it too much, then it can come up, I guess, so like tape, right? But it seems more like stamps or something, but in a brown paper roll, sort of, that he holds his stuff down. But he has this better thing that I totally want, and it's a professional watercolor stretcher, and it's like a board. Well, it's a board, right? A piece of wood with, on the sides of it, it has these rubber or something things that you, like, it has a groove in there, and then you put the paper in, and then you stick those rubber things back in to hold the paper in. Boy, does that ever look great. Because I tell you, you start doing anything where you're putting significant amount of water in, like when you're doing the sky or whatever, and it ends up getting under the tape, it lifts the tape, and it's kind of annoying. So no matter how hard you try to stretch it out and make it eager to absorb that water, well, the tape is gonna go, and I'm frustrated with that. But anyway, and honestly, every time I do this, I'm like, what a waste of tape, you know, throwing away so much stuff to do artwork, right? But because already, I mean, you go through a lot of paper towels. Well, I don't right now, but that's because I'm going through a lot of throughout this whole since the 2020 spring. What I do is I wash all the groceries like my dad used to do. Luckily I had that, you know, my dad was very particular about things like that. My mom was, I mean, she used bleach for cleaning everything, you know, everything was very sterile. And so my dad had his things that he did that honestly I like his way better, right? Like he just made sure everything was actually clean, like the groceries, the outsides of all the groceries were cleaned off a little bit. I don't know. Anyway, before they got into the fridge or into the cupboards, they were all cleaned off. So
it's such a good idea.
It is, anyway. Yeah. So, but since 2020, I've started doing that, and I go through a lot of those Lysol wipes, and then when I come back from being out, then I wash my face and stuff, like first here and then here, and then I go, you know, and then my hair, and so I with the baby wipes. So I go through a lot of those things, and then I just save them, and then I've been using them for like they've been sitting out for months, right? Just dry. So I think they're fine, and then I just use them for the watercolor mop up and stuff like that, right? So they're getting used for this, but I mean, still, it's getting thrown out, right? But it's getting it's getting used for a few things, and anyway.
Yeah, a certain plague was very bad for pollution. Yeah,
Yeah.
face masks.
Well, that's just it, you know. So anyway,
Gloves.
Watercolour Secrets. So, yeah, I'm on to disc 3 now, which is the skies. And really the only project from disc 1 was the the monochromatic picture of the the mountains in the background, the water. And then disc 2, the only real picture that he did with you was the horse. And then, well, I did this one too, and then I got to this point and he didn't finish it, and I'm like, oh dear. Okay, so I drew out the Statue of Liberty, and I'm like, got to this point, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna have to do something else with it. But I think I'm gonna do something interesting with it. I'm gonna finish it in a different way, and I think it'll be great. So anyway, and then I got to the most of disc 2. He's showing like perspective drawing and stuff like that, right? So he goes through all that with you, but it's honestly it's quite boring, but you gotta know it, because you might think, okay, well, I'm just gonna work from photos, or I'm just gonna work from whatever. Well, or I'm just going to imagine things. Well, if you imagine things, you're probably going to imagine things wrong. You want them to be in perspective with whatever else you're imagining. And if you're working with photos, like he shows, there's a winter scene that he shows, and he shows a boat scene and stuff like that, and he's trying to show you with talking about composition, which I found interesting. Anyway, he shows this one river scene first, I think, where there's a house, and he says, well, the river winds this way, and your eye follows the river, and then you have this row of shrubs that are all the same size, and you don't want that. And he says usually you work with 1s, 3s, 5s, or 7s of something work better than 2s, 4s, whatever, right? And that's true with horticulture too. That's how you want to plant things. I don't know why, but we like to see things better that way. And so if you have like shrubs that are all the same size, you make one a little bit bigger or whatever, just to break things up, and or fence posts. You don't want them all in a row like that with your subject matter that you want to be looking at behind the fence, because the fence blocks your eyes. Your eyes are like, oh, there's the fence. Stop there, right? And so if you have a fence, you just have some going off in different angles, or have some of the posts a different color or whatever, just something different shading, something to break it up a little bit so that your eye doesn't just stop there. So the composition thing was more interesting, and the river thing, like with the house, he says if you want your house to be the focal point, you have, like, say it's a white house, and then you have something really dark behind it. That's going to draw your eye more to that white with the contrast. And then if you have something red there, well, that'll draw your eye there. And then if you have the river so that it goes and then it winds and the house is there, well, the river's going to pull you to the house, and it's winding off in a different direction, but you got to your focal point, and it's good. So he explains a lot of things with composition that I think are great. And then if you're imagining a scene, like he had to change the scene. He was showing how it was, and with the house where the river, goes off in a different direction, the house over here, and da-da-da, and then your eye is like going in all different directions, and it doesn't know where the focal point is right away, and it's stressful or whatever. For your mind isn't going to like it. So he's showing how you'll have to change it. Well, if you don't know if you don't know how to deal with perspective and stuff like that, well, you're not going to be able to stick that house in a different place and have it work. So you got to know that stuff, and it's frustrating, it's boring, but anyway, and especially I got a headache today, so it feels so great. So anyway, that's what I ended up getting done, was the Statue of Liberty with the bad sky. I mean, it's not great. I tried to do the gradated a bit, and it's a bit lighter down here than here, but whatever. And you got a lot of stripes in there and stuff, and I'm like, man.
How do people avoid the stripes? That's what I couldn't stand
A lot
about
of water.
watercolor.
A lot of water.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
When they were trying to introduce it to me, or someone was trying to introduce it to me when I was
Yeah, you don't want your paper to dry out while you're doing it, so it's good to put, like, I tried to put all water down around my Statue of Liberty where I didn't want the paint seeping in and stuff, and I still had some paint seeping in, and I was very frustrated. But I mean, I'm putting my paint on, and I'm frustrated with that. But yeah, you could always just try putting more water. Got to keep it wet, and you got to keep moving fast. So what he did is he said if you have the gravity working for you, you just have it up like this, and then you just paint, and then it'll just keep moving with. And you don't worry, you have a big blob of water and paint where you ended off. Well, that'll just fall down with so that's what he was showing. And then you just keep wiping the sides so that you don't end up mucking that back in or whatever.
Yeah, I have trouble painting. It doesn't matter if it's watercolor or house paint. I always leave lines. Of course, house paint.
Well,
I think it's
you
because
use a
I take so
roller.
much time. Even with a roller, the stuff will dry, and then I'll start over again. There'll be a line. That's the way it goes. I'm just not good at that.
So yeah, now I'm on skies, and I haven't done the cloud ones yet. I watched through a couple of the cloud ones, but I haven't done them yet. And, we'll see where we go from here.
Who is this guy? Doesn't say on the outside.
Oh, I don't know, but
I'm
but
not
I
doubting
don't-
his credentials.
I think he's from Britain somewhere. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, that looks like a Matterhorn. That's in Switzerland, I think, or in the Alps.
I mean, it wasn't that this movie was bad, The Informer. For this sort, it's just not my cup of tea. But, anyway. It's about drugs and
Well, you've been watching or listening
AI,
to
whatever.
tough
who
sort of
cares?
stuff, gang type of thing.
Now this one was bad. Criminal Audition. This is awful. I mean, I suppose whoever wrote this was thinking, oh, some big crime people pay people to take the rap and go to jail for other people, and it happens, I guess. I've heard of this too. So I guess they were working off that idea, and I guess they're wanting to audition people who can keep their stories straight and really be believable. If they're going to go in and say, yeah, I did it. Well, lots of people go in and say they did whatever crime for whatever reason. I don't know why people do that, but they'll say they did things when they didn't. And
Some people just want attention.
yeah, so anyway, they want
Yeah, right,
people who are going to keep their stories straight and actually get charged and go to prison for the crime, and not like just make things worse, right? Like, because I guess if the police, they might actually catch a lot of criminals that way with people who are taking payouts, and they don't have their stories straight or
follow the
whatever.
money.
Yeah. So I guess that would be important. So somebody was probably thinking about that when they decided to write this, but it's not good at all. It's not well done. I don't believe these actors playing these characters. I don't believe the story, and it's just not worth watching, as far as I'm concerned. So did you have anything to talk about today?
Well, what you were saying about people admitting to crimes they've committed. Some people appear to just want attention. Reminds me of a incident that happened at the cop shop here in Lethbridge when I was working. And it, as I recall, was the middle of a sunny, kind of sleepy Sunday afternoon. Nothing was happening. And that's the way the cops like it. There are a few cops that like busting shops. Most cops just like hanging around the cop shop, shooting the breeze. And the last thing they want to do is get in a confrontation with someone. That's most cops. There are some that are real problems.
Eager for it? Yeah.
Now, understand, most cops actually kind of look forward to physical confrontation because they can finish it off.
Yeah.
No? They kind of get the last word. But sleepy Sunday afternoon. And yeah, it must have been fairly late in the afternoon because my shift started at, well, it started at 3, so it wouldn't have been that long. Anyway, this one guy was, I don't know why it came to the cops. It must have come through because they have a system of filtering. You just can't phone the cops. So it would have come through dispatch. Anyway, the guy was there at the desk. He answers, "Oh yeah? So it's a woman who's seen an alien." And he's rolling his eyes. It was a real card. I call him Sugar Ray White. I'm not going to tell you why or whatever. Yeah, had a sweet disposition, but he was a real card. So he didn't put it on speakerphone, weirdly enough, as I recall. But what he was doing was repeating what she was saying. "Oh, you saw an alien. Oh, he had eyes like cows." And so, you know, I think of something to say. So I said, ask her if the eyes look Guernsey or Jersey.
Oh, poor lady.
And she said something I couldn't hear, but from his reaction, no, I'm not pulling your leg," he said. Oh man, that guy was funny, I'm telling you. I have the sensibility of a 10-year-old. He had one of a 9-year-old.
Well,
It was incredible.
you guys must have had fun together then.
As much fun as we had at the cop shop.
Yeah.
I mean, what happened was they'd contracted it out for 1 year before they moved me in there. Before they contracted out, they had 3 cops, 3 janitors. After, it was down to 2 janitors after they contracted it out. So they had to tell one of the 3 janitors, "Well, you're getting cut." Then the city decided they were going to move 2 of us over. They were doing the city hall. So then they had to tell 2 janitors they were going. Well, 3 actually, because they were moving 2 of us. They had 2 left over after they chopped 1 already. At the last second, the guy who was being moved over from the city hall with me was near retirement. And I think he'd qualified for retirement. So he just decided to retire. So they told one of the guys, he had a family, 2 kids. He had more seniority. We're keeping you. Guess what? We're being nice. They weren't being nice. And so what he said to me was, I'm working the, he didn't use the term, I'm working the rule. All I'm going to do is pick up certain select garbages per day. He had the daytime shift. And it turns out, on the sly, the city was paying him, I'm not sure why, to do maintenance as well. I mean, his idea of maintenance
So he was getting paid more.
Getting
to
paid
do
more.
way less work.
to do hardly anything.
Oh,
I
that's
wondered
great.
why. Whenever I turned up, we had our little janitorial room, not really an office, in the furnace room. I always wondered when I turned up during the daytime for something, he was always in there. In other words, permanent, well, not quite permanent. He picked up select garbages. Whereas I'd pick up all the garbages, do all the vacuuming, the floors, tried to do a few desks at a time. I didn't have time. I was working free overtime, trying to get things done. So, yeah, it was amazing. It was an amazing scene. And no one seemed to do much about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was miserable working there, I gotta say.
I imagine.